Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations. Much love and respect to you, Akim, out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. And this lesson is going to be entitled, There Will Be and There Never Was Any Unity Between Asian and Black People. Right? When I say Asian, I have to qualify everything I'm saying. When I say Asian, I'm speaking about the heathen whose names have been changed to the region where they're at. Right? In that region, you have the Moabites, the so-called Chinese, also the Vietnamese, which for the most part are Moabites. But you do have Israelites mixed in among them. Okay, you have Israelites mixing among all nations. Okay, we're spread thin amongst the nations, right? And then you have Ammon, which would be the so-called Japanese and the Koreans, right? So on and so forth, right? And there is a separation between them. They are two different nations, but they come from the same father, which is Lot. Okay. Lot had relations with his daughters because they thought they were the only people on earth, and that produced Moab and Ammon. Okay, and this is part of the reason why they have the distinctive look they have. Now, and what was I gonna say? And as a matter of fact, the Israelites are spread amongst them as well. So when we say Asian, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Doesn't mean because you come from these particular regions or you look like these particular people that you are of those people. Okay? But more than likely you are of those people. Okay? Right? Now, for example, Bruce Lee, right? He would be considered so-called Chinese, but in the spirit, he's an Israelite. Okay, we can tell that people are Israelites based upon their spirit. The majority of Filipinos are Israelites. I would say the majority of Filipinos are Israelites in the spirit, right? Although they may have an Asian type look to them, as they would call it, right? Oriental look. They are actually, a lot of them are Israelites. Okay, same thing goes for the East Indians and the Pakistanis, Sri Lankan, so on and so forth. A good portion of them, I'll say the East Indians and the Pakistanis, are Elamites. They come from the nation of Elam, which is totally different from Moab and Ammon, right? Although they are all Shemites. Okay, but they are not Israelites. They are not our people. All right. There's Israelites spread amongst them as well. Like, in my opinion, the majority of Sri Lankans that I met are actually Israelites. They're actually our people, the Tamil people. A lot of those people that I've met personally are Israelites. There's a lot of Elamites, Punjabis that are Israelites. I know Punjabis that I grew up with that could play ball, and their idol was Allen Iverson, and they would play ball like Allen Iverson. They had that spirit of Jake, the spirit of an Israelite on them. There's one particular individual I'm thinking about, but there's multiple individuals that I could think about, and I could name names. You know what I mean? So you have Israelites that look like all nations and scattered amongst all nations. But I'm talking about, when I say this, I'm speaking about the heathen, the ones that are not the Israelites scattered amongst them, that are just straight up Moabites or Ammonites or Elamites, so on and so forth. There will be no unity between us and them. Why? Because let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Okay. This is Psalms 83. And matter of fact, I'll start at verse 1. It says, "Keep not thou silence, O Most High. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Right? Meaning what? They've came together, they've counseled with each other to come up against us, the Israelites. Okay? It's always been like that. It says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. This was the mindset of the heathen, okay, the other nations, all right? For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, those are the so-called white people. Okay, that's your top enemy, all right? All right, it says, and even amongst them, there's Israelites. It's the same goes for every nation. I don't have to name all the nations. Oh, there's Israelites amongst them. You should know by now, every nation has Israelites sprinkled amongst them. And if you look like them, that does not mean you're necessarily of that. You could still be an Israelite. There's still a possibility that you're an Israelite. It says, and the Ishmaelites, which are the so-called Arabs, of Moab, which are the so-called Chinese, and of the Hagarenes, and Gabal and Ammon, which are the so-called Japanese, Korean, so on and so forth, and Amalek, right? Those are the so-called Jews. Those are the small hats, which are also Edomites. Okay, but the reason it singled them out because they are very significant enemies amongst the Israelites. They are the enemy of enemies to us. Okay, they were the first one to attack us when we came out of Egypt. Right? It says the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur, right? Ashur also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Salah. Okay, Ashur would be going into the Assyrians, right? And then it continues. It goes into the Midianites. It goes into Jabin. It goes into Kisan. It goes into all different types of nations, which at the end of the day, you can just round it. You can put it together and say all of the heathen, all of the heathen are the enemies of Israel. Okay, they are our enemies. So I'm gonna play this video real quick. Godfrey trying to speak about certain people that seem to be this individual seems to be a Moabite, speaking about why are we against the blacks? Listen, like I said, Asians are not going to come together with you as a whole. No, because they are your enemies. Now, the so-called blacks and Latinos and Native Americans, we are one people. We are all Israelites. See, the feuding amongst us is a family feud, right? That eventually will be squashed. So we are not each other's enemies. Okay? Although right now it seems so. All right, so this does not apply to the so-called black, Latino, and Native American unity, because we are all one people, and eventually they're going to get together. Even the 2/3, even the wicked amongst our people are going to get together. All right. So let's I had to say that all of that first to qualify what is being said, so you don't get confused. All right, but if you have to continue to watch the videos in order to be fully to fully get the understanding anyway. So I'm gonna play this video.
Yo, what's up, man? I don't know if you guys have seen this video of these two Asian men talking about the divide between the black community and the Asian community. It's pretty dope, man. These dudes are laying down knowledge. It's dope. I think one of these guys maybe Korean, the other guy's maybe Filipino. Either way, they're both Asian, and they're spitting that real shit. The guy's like saying, yo, I don't know if the Asian community understands this, but we wouldn't be here, 22 million of us in America, if it weren't for the civil rights movement, the civil rights bill.
If it wasn't for the civil rights movement,
Yes.
there would not be 22 million Asian Americans in this country.
Thank you. I'm like, yeah, son. It's real talk. Listen, first of all, foreigners in general, like me, I am not a foundational black American. I'm not. My parents came from Nigeria to here. If it were not for foundational black Americans, None of these immigrants would be able to be doing what they do. That's facts. My parents wouldn't be able to do what they do if it weren't for foundational black Americans. We have to understand that this is all history. Fuck your feelings. This is the real deal. And me growing up in America, being born in America, African Americans always had my back. But when they're on their backs, nobody picks them up. And I know there's going to be, I can't wait to see the fucking comments. There's going to be some fucking passive aggressive ass bitches in here talking that shit. But this is all facts. All right. And I want to appreciate those two Asian dudes spitting that knowledge. And by the way, there's a lot of Asian people online spitting knowledge, real knowledge about the origins of our dealings with each other. People really waking up, and I really appreciate that because Asians and African Americans are so similar. Here's a nice little tidbit. Bruce Lee.
We are not similar. Okay, we are not similar at all for the most part. All right. Now, he's going into Bruce Lee. I already told you that Bruce Lee is an Israelite in the spirit. There was a difference between Bruce Lee and the average Moabite and Ammonite. Okay. Matter of fact, the Moabites got very angry at Bruce Lee for his first student being a so-called black person. You know, remember Bruce Lee's idol was Muhammad Ali. Okay, so he had the spirit of a Jake, just the way he talked and the way he moved. He didn't move like a typical Moabite, Oriental, if you will. Okay, he just didn't. All right, and it's that Filipino guy that's sitting there. I believe that's the one on the right. That, you know, the one on the right has more of a stern look. Let me go back here. No, not him. The other guy, right? He's most likely an Israelite. Like I said, I believe majority of the Filipinos are Israelites. Absolutely. You know, the majority of Filipinos can sing, you know, and they can sing well. You know, and they sing Jake music. You know, they play basketball. They do everything that Jake does. Okay. And they mix and mingle with Jake. I grew up. I'm around a lot of Filipinos. You know, you go to uptown where I'm from, is Filipino and Jake, Filipino and Benjamin. All right, and they coexist. They're friends. They're best friends, and so on and so forth. Like I told you, that doesn't happen when you go to a neighborhood with a bunch of Chinese and blacks. They don't be no best friends, man. They're gonna avoid you. You know, Japanese and black. They're gonna avoid you for the most part because they're not. There's no kinship there. Matter of fact, let's go to a particular scripture. So you may have one off or a couple Asians say, "Yeah, I'm down to unite," but guess what? Those might be Israelites that are amongst the so-called Asian community, right? But as a whole, that's not going to happen. That's a false reality. Oh. Right? Because everyone's going to go with those that match their spirit. Right? So like you got Sirach 13 and verse 16. And it says, in fact, I'll start at verse 15. It says, every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor, meaning his brother. So that proves the word neighbor is not dealing with someone that lives next to you. It's speaking about someone that is of your nation. Okay? It says, all flesh consorted according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. Right? So you cleave to those that you have how do you say that? Something in common with, right? So at the end of the day, though, right, it'll start off with based upon how it looks, right? It'll start off based upon how it looks, but at the end of the day, it's going to be it's good. The spirit is going to win. The spirit is going to win, right? Because someone may look like a particular nation. Let's say he's a Moabite, but he's actually an Israelite. Like China Mac, right? As an example. Eventually, spirit is going to be gravitated to, you know, so-called black people, Latinos, and Native Americans, because he's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'm more in the spirit connected to these people than I am connected to the so-called Asian people." You understand what I'm saying? So eventually, the spirit will win, right? And if he's chilling with people that look like so-called Asians, guess who he's gonna be chilling with? Israelites amongst them. It's the same thing. Okay, he's not going to vibe with the actual Moabites or the Ammonites. Okay, he's going to feel outcasted amongst those people. Right? He's going to feel outcasted amongst those people. Salakia, man. Cats are tripping, bro. It says, Salakia. Hey, Shalom, Akia, Shalom, Yahba Shemel, Shabbat Shemakakodash Brakata. And it says, okay, it says, Salakia, man. Salakia. It says, it says, but cruelly he lay up thy, oh gosh, man. Cats is tripping like a motherfucker, boy. Hold on. Let me get back to where I was at, man. Get out of here, man. It says, all flesh consorteth according to his kind, and a man will cleave to his like. What fellowship hath the wolf with the lamb, so the sinner with the godly? Right? So they're not going to agree if they're not of that same spirit eventually. It says, what agreement is there between the hyena and the dog? Right? Because a hyena and a dog is very different. Although they look similar, they're very different. They have somewhat of a similar look, but they're different. Okay? It's the same thing of Israelites that are amongst these people, calling themselves these people. Right? The spirit is different. It says, and what peace between the rich and the poor? Okay? So that's the point on that. Okay, that's the point on that. Let's get back to the video. Okay, no brother dropped a precept. Let me see what precept he dropped. It says, this is from the brother GMS in his likeness. It says Sirach 27:9. It says, the birds will resort unto their like, so will truth return unto them that practice in her. Okay, so that's the bottom line. Everyone is gonna resort to their light. They're gonna turn to those that are like them. This is Amos 3:3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? They have to be agreed in the spirit, right? You have to be agreed in the spirit. So they're not, as a whole, you looking for everyone, all the Asians to be marching with you. No. They're trying to, first of all, the majority of the Moabites, they're trying to be Edomites. Okay, they're trying to be so-called white people. All right, they're trying to get in with Esau. Right? They're not concerned with you. And really, at the end of the day, they're for their people, as every nation is, except for you Israelites. You Israelites are the only nation, especially the so-called blacks, that are not for your own people. You know? So anyways, let's continue.
About the origins of our dealings with each other. People really waking up, and I really appreciate that, because Asians and African Americans are so similar. Here's a nice little tidbit. Bruce Lee, when he was in San Francisco, you know who his first student was an African American guy. It was an African American. You could go watch Be Like Water on 30 by 30. His first student was an African American.
Why? Because he was an Israelite. Because Bruce Lee was an Israelite. Okay, that's why.
That put money in his pocket when he started his school. You understand? Bruce Lee hung around the brothers. They showed him around San Francisco and shit like that. You know, because Asians were shit on big time in America. Yeah, you had the Japanese internment camps. Chinese were treated like shit when they came here. Growing up in the north side of Chicago and Uptown, Sheridan and Lawrence, right there. All immigrants. All my friends were immigrants. My next door neighbors were Cambodian. I had Vietnamese.
A lot of Cambodians are Israelites. A lot of Vietnamese are Israelites too, because of the war, the Vietnam War. You have a lot of Jakes over there too. Okay. A lot of Cambodians. I remember there's one Cambodian Jake that I worked with. He was clearly a Jake. He actually reminded me of my father. Okay. So like I said, there's exceptions to the rules, but as a whole, these are not our people. Okay.
Friends. I had Filipino friends, Chinese,
Filipinos. Most of them are most of the Filipinos are Israelites. Okay.
Japanese. Yeah. And my parents, my dear parents, bless their souls, we would give them clothing. We would buy them clothing and stuff because they couldn't afford it, because a lot of these refugee families were big families, but didn't have a lot of money. They would tell us when we were in those little government offices, they say, yo, be careful about the black people. The black people are the criminals. The black people will steal from you. This is what my Vietnamese and my Laotian friends and my Cambodian friends told me while we're giving them clothing and all that. So a lot of this shit is learned and it's taught, and it's all kinds of bullshit. But I want to give respect to those two cats really spitting that real shit. And all you Asian folks out there, I don't give a fuck what your background is. No, we're very similar. Very similar. You've been oppressed by the same oppressor.
That is true. Everywhere. The whole world has been oppressed by this devil. The scriptures speak about Esau as the hammer of the whole earth, right? Specifically America as the hammer of the whole earth. So everyone has been oppressed by Esau. That doesn't make us have something in common. Okay? This is Jeremiah 50:23. It says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" Now that's Babylon is America. Okay? It's going to be broken. Okay? It's going to become desolate. It's going to become completely destroyed. Right? Look at how Trump slapped up Mexico and Colombia. That's a hammer. He said, listen, I'll put a 25% tariff on you, man. All right? And they changed their tune real quick, man, about accepting these the migrants back. All right? So that's a hammer. That's someone, that's someone that's in control. That's Esau, Edom in America. Okay? So, yeah, we've all been oppressed by this devil. That doesn't mean that we have that we are the same, or that we are of the same nation. That's not what that means. Okay? Let's continue.
Talk. All right, I don't give a fuck who you marry, but the real deal is we are very similar, and it's a shame that we bump heads so much, disrespectful to each other, and it's fucked up. You open businesses in black neighborhoods and you disrespect the black people. It's not all business owners, but it happens, and it's
because they're not under the curses. The reason why they could own businesses in your neighborhood while you can't own businesses, because they're not under the curses. They're not your people. Okay? They got all kind of, and it's not just one or two businesses or a little bodega like some of the Latin tribes. No, it's an abundance of restaurants that last for hundreds, generation to generation, and never goes out of business. They can find rats and cats in the back, and it's still, there could be rumors of all kind of madness going on in the back of the place, and it's still in business for hundreds of years because they're not under the curses. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Okay. See, us and the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the things that we have, the thing that we have in common. First of all, we're of the same people, right? But another thing is that we're all under these curses, right? Look at ICE. Who is ICE taking out? Who is ICE targeting? He's not targeting Asians. ICE is not coming for Asians. There's illegal Asians here on visa. There's Asians here that are migrants, right? They've overstayed their welcome, okay? That are working and doing all kind of things. They're not going into the Asian parlors. They're not going into the Asian restaurants. Okay? They're not coming after the Asians, so-called, the East Indians or anything like that. They're coming after you tribes, you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is who they're coming after Native Americans on their own land. There's reports of that right now. Literally. Okay? You know what? Matter of fact, let me go to TikTok, man. Let me go to TikTok real quick. But first, let me read this. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 15, it says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Okay, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Right? He just made a statement about how he spoke to somebody who told them, or no, there was a comment I just read actually in the comment section of that video that said when he came over here, that they always tell the immigrants don't live where black people live. Why do they say that? Don't live where black people live. And black people live where Latino people live. Okay? Why? Because we're the same people, right? So don't live where blacks and Latinos live. Why? Because cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. You lived in the cursed places of the city. America, Babylon the Great exemplifies this. Right? Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. What is thy basket and thy store? That's speaking about your businesses. Your businesses are cursed. Okay? That's why they're far and few in between, and they don't last long most of the time. Now, on the other hand, the Elamites, the Moabites, their businesses last forever. Ishmael dominates business. Okay, Ishmael has all kind of businesses: furniture business, the jewelry store business, this business, that. Ishmael is out here winning. These are because they're not under the curses. These are not our people. It's spiritual that ICE is targeting you, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, and you can see it. I showed the video. Right, they're only going after you, blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's all the only people they're looking for. Okay. And it's gonna start. Oh yeah, these are violent criminals. But it's not just violent criminals they're grabbing up right now. Okay, they're going on reserves and getting you Native Americans too. Hold on, let's go to Damn, and this is your own land, showing you. See all that pride. This is our land. It doesn't matter. The devil is controlling this right now. The devil is in power. You need Yahweh Shai, just like we need Yahweh Shai. We need our Savior.
Multiple reports from Phoenix, Arizona indicate that members of tribal nations are being harassed by immigration officers. And at least one member of the Navajo Nation was detained and released by ICE. This is a devastating result of racial profiling and a stark reminder of settler colonial violence. To my indigenous brothers and sisters out there, please stay safe and take care.
See, so you see, there was a report, and this is a Gadite right here. He said there was a report. Multiple reports of Navajo people getting harassed by ICE. So this is a statement. Esau is getting ready to roll on you tribes, and he knows exactly who you are. He knows exactly that you are the Israelites. They know this. The ones that don't know it is the average low-level peons. They don't know this, but the elites know very well who you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are. Okay? And you still don't get it. So, the blacks, Latinos, and Asians need to get together. You idiots. They are not your people for the most part. Now, like I said, there is outliers, right? If you see a person getting harassed by a Cambodian family, getting harassed by ICE, well, guess what? Maybe that Cambodian family is under the curses. But for the most part, they're not. For the most part, they're not. Okay?
Fucked up because of the brainwashing. And I really want to just give a shout out to that video. That shit is very significant. And by the way, there's a Chinese geneticist, I don't know if you know, but he just found out. He's been doing all these experiments to know where Asian people come from. I don't know if he was sad about it, but he says, I have to admit that we all are traced back to Africa.
Which is fucking stupid. That's a stupid. They're traced back to Africa. You niggas pump your chest about that. Don't you know that's an insult, low key. That's an insult because they're saying that everyone evolved from you because you're like the lowest on the evolutionary scale. So that's all bullshit. We don't come from Africa. The world, the first creation was in the Middle East. Okay, not the so-called Middle East, right? In Jerusalem, Palestine. That's the beginning of civilization. The scripture says, Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. All right?
We've been telling you this shit, buddy. The Asiatic face is an African look, sir. You guys come from the Gosan.
This guy here, man. Anyways, they don't listen, man. They come from Lot, okay? The majority of them come from Lot. All right, and then there's some of them that are actually Israelites as well. Okay, they're actually our people, but the majority of them are Moab, Ammon, and the ones that he's talking about, Moab and Ammon. It's not it's nothing to do with Ham. It's nothing to do with Africa. So anyways, whatever. Let's go to let's go to the scriptures real quick. I just wanted to go through that because you see that, you know, who's getting harassed by these ISIS? It's the Israelites. It's time for Jacob's trouble. This is the time we're coming into. We're coming into Jacob's trouble. Not Moab's trouble. Not Ammon's trouble. Right? Although everyone is going to be affected eventually. But right now, the main targets of this thing is the Israelites. Okay? Esau's going to be trouble as well. Don't get it twisted. But Jacob 30:5. Jeremiah 30:5. Salakia. Okay? It says, for thus saith Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Oh, they're in fear now. They're in fear now. You know? Because guess what? And this is very light, but it's an example. They're in fear of ICE. So they're not going to work. They're scared to send their children to school. The school buses are more empty. All right? They're crying on the TikToks. They're in fear right now. You understand? It says, ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned to paleness. So what's going to happen when death becomes the norm? See, death is not the norm right now. Death is not the norm right now. Okay? Death is not the norm. All right? But what happens when it becomes the norm? It says, alas, for that day is great. That day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. You see? So that's the bottom line. Okay? Jacob shall be saved out of it. All right? He's not going to be utterly destroyed. The remnant is going to be delivered out of these times. But the ones that are not of the remnant, they're not of the elect, they're going to be destroyed. I just want to bring some understanding to that, because Jake just really doesn't even understand, you know, that there's different nations, and just because you're a minority, it means we got to be unified. That's bullshit. That's BS. Okay, we don't got to be unified because we're a minority. They're not with you. They're not your friends. Okay? They're better than Esau, sure, but they're still not your enemies. I mean, they're still not your friends. They're your enemies. Okay? So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect, and I'll say shalom.